MCI is a US-based nonprofit. We are a public charity, and what we do is really strive towards our mission, which is reproductive autonomy for all. And we do that by really trying to focus on an underserved piece of the birth control marketplace, which are male contraceptive options. Yeah, so we, as an organization, we do focus on non-hormonal reversible male methods. And I think that that's really where we focus on for innovation because we feel that that's the biggest gap in the market. There's 3.4 whatever billion men in this world. And so, we think that serving something to those men who only have condoms and vasectomies can create a much greater impact than yet another hormonal IUD for women. But we do think that investigation in the male space has the potential to impact other areas of contraception. For example, if you target, let's say, sperm motility as a means of making a contraceptive, you can actually, in theory, deliver a sperm-targeted contraceptive to either men or women. And we think that that's really where some of the innovation can be had, and where we think that we can bring learnings to the field of contraception outside of just creating new products for men. Because if you, let's say, prevent sperm from swimming, sperm are created in the male reproductive tract, and then they gain motility in the female reproductive tract and fertilize an egg there. If you can inhibit any of these functions, it doesn't really matter in theory whether you do it in a man or a woman, just as long as you do it. And so we could be really thinking about unisex contraception. We could be thinking about new methods that change what people understand contraception can be. There's so many. There's a joke that the male pill has been 10 years away for 50 years. And it's because it's really hard. It's hard to make a drug to begin with. If you're trying to create a new cancer therapy or something like that, there are many scientific, technical, and financial hurdles. But male contraception is a really unique position in that I mentioned that we're trying to treat a healthy population for a very long time. And so right there, the safety burden is huge. These drugs have to be incredibly safe. And moreover, ethically, they have to be very safe because men don't get pregnant. And so with female contraception, you're mitigating the risk of pregnancy, which is in and of itself a health risk. But men don't get pregnant. And so how do you justify giving them a treatment that may come with certain health risks? More than that, we've talked about that the contraceptive industry has seen a lot of pullout from pharmaceutical partners. With that, they took their money. And so it's enormously expensive to make a drug. And where do we get that funding now? The philanthropic sector has really been what's stepped up to take the place of the pharmaceutical industry. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, MCI, or in some cases, government funding. But that's not the massive amount of money that a pharmaceutical industry can bring most of the time, especially the focused effort that they can bring. And then there's also the hurdle of the end user. Will men take it? There's a lot of information and studies that say yes, they will, but they don't have a product in front of them. We're assessing people's attitudes, not their opinions. They haven't used a product to know what they like and dislike about it. And so I think that we have to try and understand men's perceptions, women's perceptions, partner interactions. We have to try and understand these things in a holistic sense right now to try and ensure that the first products that hit the market are well suited for the population that will be taking them. Optimist, if I didn't say that, I think that we are going to put an end to the joke sooner rather than later. There are lots of different methods in the pipeline, more than we've ever seen before. And then there's also a certain public outcry that we haven't seen in the past. I think that people, that relationship dynamics have changed dramatically in the past 5 to 10 years. We're talking about the Me Too movement. We're talking about men becoming more engaged as fathers or as in sexual and reproductive health. And I think that these have all created an environment that's conducive for male contraception. And it's created demand that hasn't really existed before. So now people are actually working on these sort of projects. But science takes a long time and it's really hard. And so there are a couple of methods that are medical devices that are in preclinical development now that could be here well before a decade. Those medical devices act as like a vasectomy that's genuinely, truly reversible. Vasectomies can be reversed, but not reliably, and it's expensive, et cetera. These methods are an injection of a hydrogel polymer, something that actually fills the vas deferens, the space that transports sperm from the testes out through the reproductive tract, instead of cutting that tube and severing it. Because they're medical devices, they could be here sooner than a drug-based solution. And then among drug-based solutions, there are hormonal methods for men that are in development now, being tested in men. Getting to clinical trials and first-in-human studies is a really big hurdle, and they've crossed that and then done well with the first studies that have come through. There's a gel that's rubbed on the shoulders like once a day. There's another one that's being evaluated as a daily pill, and then another one that's being evaluated as an injectable, maybe like every 3 months or so. All of those methods are promising, but because drug-based solutions take generally a longer time, those probably are close to that decade mark from actually getting to the market.